and, going against society as people who are in the queer community, I believe it's important that, if we want to make a difference and we want to be seen differently and we want to have equality and we want to have rights that help support us in our lives, we've got to go out there and help other people within our community and not just focus on us or me. It should be a we. And that's why I really wanted to talk on this episode about, exploring the different meanings of being queer, because again, I also see it as a spiritual side of it, right? I think it's the spiritual side of this experience that so many of us can relate to, because again, we all grow up and go through different experiences, but we can definitely relate to a lot of the similar things. Growing up, feeling like, we're misunderstood, that we have to go through this kind of coming out process. We have what is everyone else going to think about this? What do I think about this? Am I going to actually do something about this? Going through the different stages of that. And so we can relate to that. But we can also be related that, when we have come out, we have faced discrimination and adversity. And it's been a lot tougher at times for us as people in the queer community. So welcome to the Queer Quest podcast, your beacon of light and sprinkle of glitter in the queer community. I'm your host, Christiano Green, CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for queer individuals. And together, we're embarking on a journey of transformation. Each week, we bring you a new training topic or connecting with visionary queer leaders in healing and coaching, diving deep into conversations that inspire growth, celebrate diversity, and empower you to live authentically. So wherever you are, settle in and let's get ready to unlock the vibrant potential within. This is where your quest begins. Hello, all you fabulous souls, and welcome to this week's episode of the Queer Quest podcast. I'm your host, Christiano Green, the CEO and founder of Queer Quest and a transformation coach for people in the queer community. So this week we are doing a solo episode. So it's just me, and we are going to be exploring the meaning of being queer from multiple perspectives. Now, I have spoken about, my definition of queer on social media a few times, and I've gotten, some varied responses. I've gotten some people who are really supportive and understanding and get it and really want to be on that same definition and ride that I call, the queer movement. And then there are some people who are really against it. Now, I've had some people who have told me that, and it's usually people who are a little bit, from different generations. They've maybe grown up in the world where the word queer was thrown at them in a negative light. And so maybe they've taken on the meaning to be quite negative, and so they try to disassociate themselves from being queer and stick to maybe whatever it is that they're in: gay, lesbian, transgender, and for whatever reason, that's totally okay if that's how it is for them. I just wanted to talk today about exploring the different meaning of being queer, what I really mean by that, so that maybe some of those people can think a little bit differently, because it's important for us to be able to change the narrative at times. It's important for us to be able to take back something that was maybe negative and use it in a more important way for our society. Because to me, being queer is every single person within the LGBTQIA plus community. Now, there are so many different sections of that. There are sections of, the spectrum of sexuality. People can be gay or lesbian or bisexual or pansexual or demisexual. There's so many different kinds of sexualities out there, and everyone gets the right to be able to explore those in their way. So we obviously class that within people within the queer community. Now, we also look at gender as well, the gender spectrum. So, of course, people who are non-binary or transgender or going through the exploration for themselves. For me personally, I'm gender fluid, right? So there's a lot of different genders that also fit within the spectrum there. And they all, two spirits, they all, fall under the umbrella of the queer community. And then there's also those ones that are like the non-typical relationships. So maybe you're in an open relationship, you're in a throuple, you're monogamish, you're polyamorous, right? All of those, again, fit into the relationship spectrum. And again, we class those under the queer community. So everything for me, I look at being queer as just something, it's like something deeper. It's more of a spiritual side to being queer, the movement side. Like, we know that where we are in the world as people within the LGBTQIA plus community, it's still not where we want to be socially, politically, how we are viewed and seen and represented in the media, things like that, right? And so for me, be classing myself as a gay man, as gender fluid, and also as, queer, I see each of those a little bit differently. Gay is my sexuality. Yes, I'm a man who openly loves and is attracted to other men, right? That's part of me. That's my subsection of the queer community in that regard. Gender fluid. I'm very in touch with both my masculine and my feminine, and I like to express myself in ways that feel good to me. And that's why I class myself as gender fluid, because I don't care about the masculine and the feminine and following, I guess, societal norms around gender. I believe that there's a bigger conversation around that. And like I said, that allows people to explore themselves in many different ways. And then when it comes to being queer, I believe that, like I said, I'm a big part of this LGBTQIA plus community. And I think it's important for people who are, I guess, leaders and role models in that area to maybe do things and use their platform to say important things that can help other people within this community. Again, I don't want anyone to feel secluded. I want to make us a place where we feel like we found our space, whatever the letter of the alphabet that suits to you, that makes you feel more at home. I want you to honor that as well. But I also want us to look at it in a bigger picture and go, like, we are each other's, family in a sense. We're a tribe. We've gone through a lot of ups and downs throughout society. We've been seen differently and less than the heteronormative, sections of society, right? The people who say that you should be either a man or a woman and you should be what you were born with, right? Or, like I said, you should be straight and you should be having these kinds of relationships. And, going against society as people who are in the queer community, I believe it's important that, if we want to make a difference and we want to be seen differently and we want to have equality and we want to have rights that help support us in our lives, we've got to go out there and help other people within our community and not just focus on us or me. It should be a we. And that's why I really wanted to talk on this episode about, exploring the different meanings of being queer, because again, I also see it as a spiritual side of it, right? I think it's the spiritual side of this experience that so many of us can relate to, because again, we all grow up and go through different experiences, but we can definitely relate to a lot of the similar things. Growing up, feeling we're misunderstood, that we have to go through this kind of coming out process. We have what is everyone else going to think about this? What do I think about this? Am I going to actually do something about this? Going through the different stages of that. And so we can relate to that. But we can also be related that, when we have come out, we have faced discrimination and adversity. And it's been a lot tougher at times for us as people in the queer community. So really trying to really shift the narrative for some people out there who really see the word queer as a negative, right? Because to me, it's just about inclusivity of every single person and every single subsection of the queer community. So anyone who's in the LGBTQIA 2S plus community, every single part. I want everyone to feel included in the overarching queer. Instead of just having to say LGBTQIA plus, let's just label it as queer, because to me, that's what it means. It means everything, all encompassing, all of us as a family, right? A queer family, a queer community that really takes care of our brothers and our sisters and those of us who are, on the spectrum within that, because again, we want to be all included as well. Now, if we look at it like that, if we're going to be inclusive, that means that we see each other, we honor each other. We don't expect people to see it, to fit into our boxes. We can see that there are many different boxes, and everyone's allowed to live in their box and be labeled and be classified and feel a part of a different community, right? Like I said, I know that someone who is transgender or who is lesbian will have a different experience to me. There are going to be a lot of similarities, but again, every one of those journeys is different. And I want people to feel, like I said, like own your identity, right? If part of you is, like I said, transgender or gay or lesbian or polyamorous, I want you to own that, and I want you to feel part of that community. I'm not trying to diminish those communities and say, look, we have to be one and one for all and all for one kind of thing. I say, like, be part of that, but also look that there can be something above that and something, left and right of that, where, like I said, we are, a kindred spirit. We are people who are working together as a tribe to support each other in getting, equality for us all. Because I think it's important for us, like I said, to be inclusive. And that's why I said, when I'm a gay man, I'm gender fluid, but I'm also queer. It's because I believe that there is a bigger meaning and a bigger purpose to being part of a bigger community. Because, none of us are better than no one of us is better than all of us, right? But all of us can make a difference if we work together. And again, that means that each person's going to, and each community is going to have different things that they want and need, moving forward politically and socially when it comes to acceptance and equality. So it means that we work together to get everyone, moving in a direction where they feel seen, heard, understood for who they are as well, right? Now, like I said, I said earlier, the word queer has evolved. It used to be a very derogatory term to, and it was aimed to disempower people, right? If you were labeled queer, it was a negative thing, and it was often used for people who are, like I said, who were gay or lesbian or transgender, right? Like, people threw those labels out around it. And they also tried to throw in and put things in, like, pedophiles, or other things that are negative like that, right? Because they wanted people they wanted to try to label everyone in one category and do it in a derogatory way, so that it was discriminated towards us, and that those people outside of that who didn't understand it would go, oh, you're queer, you're in with the pedophiles, you're in with this, you are not a good person, and being your way is evil, or whatever you want to see it as, right? So I can understand why there are people out there who don't want to, who don't like the word queer, because they've maybe gone through that period of their life being called those names, and like I said, having it associated to those other things in those times, I can imagine could come with a lot of trauma, and it might be quite triggering for some people to hear the word queer and say, like, we are not in that community. No way we are in that community because of X, Y, and Z. So I totally get it. I just want some people to maybe question why they feel that way about a word that has been retaken by our community, right? We chose to take that word back. We've chosen to take other negative words back because we have the power to make meaning of words, and we get to re-emerge words into things that, like I said, are empowering identities. For me, I see it as an empowering identity. But I can understand, like I said, how some people might take it as a disempowering one who maybe grew up in a time different to us. So, like I said, there's no right or wrong here, but I also want us to maybe look deeper than just the word and go, okay, if what you want is the same as what I want, let's work on that instead of worrying about what the word, means to you. Or is there a way that you can understand that we get to take back those words and evolve them into something, like I said, that's way more empowering to us, because it really is right now. Being part of the queer community, to me, is an empowering thing. I feel empowered by saying that I am queer, above and beyond just being a gay man or a gender fluid, excuse me, person. So I really want us to emphasize that there's a lot of fluidity and diversity within this queer community. There is a lot of, excuse me, like I said, there's a lot of, like I said, like the spectrums of where we are very fluid. We know that sexuality can be very fluid. We know that gender can be very fluid. We know that the way that you see and evolve your mindset and your views of the world can be fluid. What once, years ago may have seemed impossible, you might be living that dream right now. You may be living in the possibilities. Excuse me, my body is saying, let's keep talking about this. I've been a little bit sick this week, actually, but I'm still here recording another episode. So, anyway, getting back to the topic, like I said, I believe we are a community and it's important for us to stand together, especially when we want to move the world forward politically, socially, and also just have things and feel accepted and equality, for all of us, where no matter where we are in the world, because one thing that I can very much be aware of is that people across the world in our community are having very different experiences. Some have a really great experience. They're growing up in a place, in a time where it is way more accepting, and they've got families who see them and support them and nurture them in ways where they can grow up and maybe they've never had to come out. They got to experience life in a way where it was the norm for them to like, whoever they are is who they are. Like, do you know what I mean? That's a beautiful gift for your parents or your community to give to you. But there are also people who are really on the other end of that spectrum, who are really struggling on a daily basis. They are either getting, abused physically, or, verbally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, like all of these different ways. Or even worse, some people are getting sexually assaulted or even like killed in some places, right? In certain areas, we know that there are some struggles with this, and especially when places are moving forward and then backwards, like places in the US, right, with a lot of the crap that's going on there when it comes to the laws around drag and queer people. There's a lot of stuff that's happening, and then there are people out there in the community who are having backlash, and there are people, like I said, that are getting killed and attacked for being part of the queer community. Because again, we moved some steps forwards, and now some of our presidents or the presidents in those countries are trying to move us backwards because maybe they're trying to use us as scapegoats for whatever political things that they're trying to do, right? So I can understand, like, there are people who are really suffering this, which is why it's important for us to be solid, have solidarity among the entire LGBTQIA plus community, because we all want the same thing. We all want to live in a place that's safe for us to live in. We all want to be able to express ourselves and live our lives authentically without fear of someone, abusing us or even worse, right? And so it's important, like I said, for us to like I said, that's why being queer to me is an important part of history, an important part of of a movement, a rebellion against society, because we have to fight against sometimes what is seen as the majority, because we're the minority here. And for us, having just a small subsection fighting against the bigger world, it's important that we can put all these subsections together and we become a bigger voice. We become a bigger part of history when we can work together as well, which is important, like I said, because across history, a lot of things that have happened in our community shaped the queer movement, right? Riots, the AIDS crisis, marriage equality, right? All of those things have shaped the queer movement. And it wouldn't have happened if we didn't work together as a community, right? And again, I know some of those things affect, bigger subsections of the queer community, right? For like, again, when it comes to marriage equality, a lot of that stuff affects people who are, gay or lesbian, right? By same-sex marriage, right? Those kinds of areas. But if, I know that we've moved forward when it comes to as well transgender rights, but we're nowhere near where we need to be, because again, there's still a lot of stuff that struggle for people who are growing up in that area. And I think that's important, like I said, that we as people who have had, like parts of society accept us and move forward, that we work on helping our siblings, right? Our tribe in being able to move forward as well. In a world where every journey is unique, one path shines brightly for the queer community. Introducing QueerQuest, the first of its kind personal development platform designed exclusively for us, by us.
At QueerQuest, we understand the multifaceted journey of queer identity. That's why we've created a space where you can explore, learn, and grow with the guidance of queer experts from around the globe. Whether you're seeking to enhance your physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being, QueerQuest is your gateway to transformation. Imagine embarking on quests tailored to your journey of self-discovery, finding community, and unlocking your queer excellence. QueerQuest offers online courses, coaching programs, and soon workshops, seminars, retreats, and festivals, all designed to empower you to live your best life. Ready to start your adventure? Join us at www.queerquest.vip to become part of a movement towards personal and collective greatness. Sign up today to join the waitlist and be the first to know when we launch. QueerQuest, where your journey of self-discovery and transformation begins. Don't just dream of a life filled with pride and purpose, make it your reality with QueerQuest. Visit www.queerquest.vip now. Your quest awaits.
And I know, again, that as we evolve, more people in media and we have more influential queer activists, contributing to these causes as well by making changes and speaking up and coming out. Because, again, visibility is important for that. 20 odd years ago, there was almost zero people coming out, who were actors or, who are famous, right? Because it was frowned upon. Again, it was really frowned upon. And so as the time evolves, more and more people do this, and there's a lot of firsts, even though we know that they're not the first, because queer people have been everywhere throughout history. It's just that they haven't been visible or open with that because not everyone, feels comfortable and safe to become an activist. And not necessarily that's not everyone's path. And it's okay. I'm not telling everyone who is famous or whatever that you should come out and lead the charge, because that's not everyone's path and it's not everyone's right or responsibility. But I'm saying that if you're someone who believes in the fight, you've got to stand up and be visible and be seen for us to be able to make changes as well. So that's really what I'm talking about when we really talk about the queerness in relation to it being a movement, because it is a social and political movement. And like I said, we've made huge strides socially and some strides politically. And again, the real thing that we need to work on is that not every country and state has the same laws. Like I said, it can be very different for someone living in this state of America to that state. It could be someone who's living in Australia or in Asia or in Europe or in Africa, right? They're all going to have very different viewpoints and laws around that. And so again, it's important that we don't just always look at our own backyard. We look at, what's happening for other people in our community across the world, because it really is very different. And it can be very hard for people who are queer struggling with where they live, and that being a barrier for them being able to express themselves authentically. And I get a lot of messages from people who are struggling and they're in different parts of the world and it's really awful for them. They just don't have any visibility. They don't have anyone to look up to, and they don't have queer people around them for them to say, like, that person's just like me and it's okay. Because the things that they've seen have been negative and have been maybe traumatic for them. So they, again, have to live in fear, and they have to maybe live more in the closet, because if they come out, it could be even detrimental to them physically and, their livelihoods as well. There's holistic impact of being queer. And when we talk about things holistically, we talk about us as a queer human beings. I'm talking about physical, I'm talking about mental, I'm talking about emotional, I'm talking about spiritual, energetic, social, romantic, occupational, entrepreneurial, financial, environmental, recreational, cultural, and even your queer identity. So what do we mean by that? We are holistic beings. Each part, we're made up of all these different parts of us, right? Our physical body, our physical health and wellness, our fitness, how we see ourselves physically, it's important because, again, we have different struggles that we have to, think about as queer people. So again, our being within the queer community, we have to look at things differently. We can't just say, look, our physical bodies are exactly the same, because we don't have the same experiences and we don't have the same struggles or things to be aware of, right? Being in the gay community, I know that 85% of people in this community struggle with body image, right? And I know it's very different to people who are in the lesbian community or people who are in the straight community, right? It's a different number. Like sometimes it's like even more than double, right? And so what I'm trying to say is we have different struggles physically and how we see our bodies and how we experience this world. So we have to look at those differently and address those things accordingly. Same with mental and emotional health, right? Our emotions and our mindset is going to be different to those of people who are grown up in a completely different experience, right? Going through the coming out experience as queer people is a very internalized experience, and it does take a toll on your mental health and your emotional health as well, and your wellness in those areas, right? In all categories of mental health, people in the queer community 3 times more likely to deal with mental health issues. So we're talking about 60% of queer people struggle with anxiety. Over 50% struggle with depression. Over 70%, deal with loneliness, long-term loneliness, for periods of their life. 1 in 10, contemplate or go ahead with suicide, right? And then 1 in 3 people will deal with addictions or substance abuse, right? Because they're trying to numb themselves from these things as well. Like I said, I've dealt with all those things myself personally. So they have an impact on your, being accepted within your family, within your community, within, within society can come with a lot of self-doubt and fears and rejection and anger and, pain. So it's about what can we do as a community? What are some strategies that we can work on to help our community, help our tribe to work through their mental health and their emotional health as well? Again, being queer is to me is there's a spiritual side to it, right? I think that the more you have to go deep into your soul to accept yourself, that is a deeply spiritual experience if you allow it to be. And when you go through that experience, it can be very healing for the rest of you holistically and energetically, because again, our body is made up of energy and matter. And again, we can store a lot of negative energy within our body, in our nervous system. And it's important for us energetically to do some healings to clear that out, allowing ourselves to be at a state of normality, right? Where we don't have all this trauma in our body, right? So energetically clearing ourselves out as well. When we look at, relationships, friendships, excuse me, relationships, it can be very difficult. The struggles that we have to face in same-sex relationships or dating, people as when you're in different genders and having people to understand you or reject you because of how you are. That's a big thing, right? And when you are, like, for example, hurt people. If you've gone through a lot of trauma growing up as a queer person, it's going to be hard for you to build a very healthy relationship until you deal with some of that stuff, which is, why I help a lot of my clients through a lot of that stuff. I'm so sorry, guys. My cough is there. It's from me talking too much, being unwell. But really, like I said, we deal with different things in relationships, intimate relationships and friendships, right? Because again, if we have been, ostracized from our community, from our families, we have to find our own tribe and create our own family. So again, we go through different support networks and and again, these are holistically different to the average Joe. Same when it comes to things like our career or going outside and creating a business or our finances, right? We will have different things to focus on in those areas, right? We like for me, growing up in a lot of the jobs that I went to, I was the only gay person in those places, and I felt that. I felt that it, I felt very isolated in that regard. Not because everyone made me feel that way, but because I didn't have other people that I could connect with, in the workplace. As I got to evolve and I finally found like I knew it was important for me to work in a place where I did, I found a place to work with, and I worked there for over 7 years. And like the CEO was gay. There was a lot of other people in high positions that were also LGBT. right? So for me, it was important for me to find a place that I felt part of that kind of a community, right? Eventually, I left, and I used a lot of that experience and the skill sets to create my own coaching business, right? Because I really knew that I wanted to work one on one and collectively with people in the queer community to help them to evolve. So again, I've moved out, occupational to entrepreneurial, right? And that's something that I think that there are a lot of queer people out there trying to really make something for themselves and make a career for themselves and make a business for themselves. And doing that by also supporting queer people in many different ways, whether that's through, e-commerce or services. And the great thing about QueerQuest, again, is we're going to be having a lot of different queer coaches and healers and teachers from all over the world, from all different aspects of life holistically, to help support you on your journey. So we're trying to build a community of, like I said, of teachers and healers. And again, the great thing about it is coming to QueerQuest, these teachers will only get better because they're also students from their peers as well here at QueerQuest, which is really, really cool. Financially, again, we go through different things as well as holistically, right? We might have different beliefs around money. Again, like if you're coming in a household where, it's two gay people and maybe, you're not trying to have a family, you're going to have different expenses, right? You might have different things to plan for and stability within your finances again. So also like get like for me, how I got introduced into the queer community was through the gay clubs, and I got caught up in alcohol and drugs, which then led to me getting myself into a whole lot of debt, right? I had to work through all that and evolve through that to change my financial and money beliefs so that I could now be in a position to, like I said, have my own business and to live in a different country and to start a new business with my partner, right? I have multiple businesses, right? Because again, I had to change stuff up here to work through it, and like I said, now have like I said, different incomes as well. And when we look at it environmentally and recreationally, so again, environmental is your home within yourself. It's your actual family home, and also like the area that you live, right? Again, when I grew up in the Central Coast of Australia, which is a coastal town, and I didn't know any other gay people, and I felt very ostracized. So I had to move to a bigger city like Sydney, where it was a big, LGBTQIA plus community, for me to feel safe and comfortable in my environment, for me to explore myself that way, and then be able to come out to my family, right? And then, like I said, I had to amalgamate all of those different areas for me to, like I said, feel like I was at my home. And then eventually, like I said, I moved to Bali, Indonesia, because I became more spiritual over time, and I knew that Sydney wasn't right for me, and I wanted to go in a different path. Eventually, it led me to finding love and having a relationship because I moved to an environment that was more suitable for me. And then again, love came to me. Recreationally, having fun, like again, the different aspects of life when it comes to your to travel, queer travel, and queer entertainment, queer parties, queer music, queer history, right? All those things that we talk about recreational, having fun and joy and fulfillment in life. Again, we have different things that are important to us. Again, some people don't care to be involved with queer art, queer music, queer television. I'm a big supporter of that, and I love queer movies and queer TV shows. Because I think that like there's important being visible and having more role models, and like I said, like not just being stereotypes, like finding more niche roles for people within the queer community to tell more queer stories, because the more we are seen, the more we are understood, the more we feel like we can be our authentic selves as well. And then finally, we're talking about cultural and queer identity. Like this is you celebrating queer culture and your queerness, and like being embraced by that, and like embracing that as well. Again, culturally, we're like there's a vast array of cultures. You can be looking at the culture of where you live and your race, your ethnicity. You can also look at the culture of the things that you're a part of, sports or other things out there. Like culture is huge social culture, pop culture, right? Their culture affects us all, right? And so if we look at this, we're like, what are we taking in culturally, and how is that affecting our experience? And what do we need to change culturally for us to have a better experience as queer people and accepting our queer identity as well? So those are the things that when we're talking about queerness, it covers all of that, right? It really covers, like I said, you know, the meaning of being queer, meaning that it's a community. It's everything within the LGBTQIA plus community. It's an inclusive place. It's, how we have evolved from, like I said, the derogatory meaning to an empowering identity. It's about understanding that we live in a fluid world and a diverse world, and us as a queer community is at the forefront of that diversity as well. Because again, the more we stand up, the more we shine, the more we take seats at different tables, the more people get to know us and understand us, and we get to be seen, heard, and understand. And then again, like the more people see us and are visible to us and get to know us, they get to understand that we are human beings like them. And maybe they can support us in moving forward in ways that will support all of us to get to a place of equality across the planet. I mean, like I said, I know some people are going to think this is crazy and like, why are we bothering to even try? But I think if you don't try, you don't ever succeed. And it's important to at least try to take some steps forward, then be living in the past, right? Let's try to move forward as a community, as a queer community, as the LGBTQIA plus community. Now, guys, I always love hearing from you, whether you've got questions or stories or just, remarks towards what I'm saying. You know how to find me. You can comment below on this video if you can, if you've got that ability to do so. I get back to everybody who comments. Or you can reach out to me across all social media under Christiano Green on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, right? Reach out to me. Let's connect. Let's talk about this topic of the queer community and the meaning of being queer, the spiritual side of it, all of these different parts, because I think it's an important topic for us all to talk about. All right, I am going to leave it there because I feel like you get what I'm talking about. And I'm going to leave it there because next week we've got someone coming on the podcast who I believe is going to also experience, to continue this kind of a conversation as well. So until then, always remember that you've got this and I've got you. Bye for now. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards love and happiness? Introducing the 21-day Gay Men's Guide to Love and Happiness. This isn't just a course, it's a pathway to discovering your true self, overcoming challenges, and embracing happiness. Join hundreds of gay men who found joy and freedom. Learn from Christiano Green, a coach with 20 years experience and a journey like yours. For a limited time, get this life-changing course at 75% off with a 100% risk-free guarantee. There's nothing to lose, but so much to gain. Your new life is just a click away. Enroll in the 21-day Gay Men's Guide to Love and Happiness today. Visit theglobalpridecollective.com and start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilled you.